it due to connectivity problems, or couldn't get onto Zoom lessons, or didn't get onto Google Classroom for whatever reason, can do it, and you can make sure you understand. Okay, so today's lesson is quite a simple one for those of you that do understand, so I'm going to use it as an introduction. All right, so let's share the screen. I'm going to show you my little PowerPoint, which I did for you. I made it green, so Ma'am Lou would be impressed. Okay, so what I did is I drew graphs. Now, those of you that were working with me last week, you saw my fancy graph sketcher. This graph here has got an x squared, so it's going to look like a U, right? A U. And if the x squared is positive, it goes up like this. If the x squared is negative, then it's going to point downwards, like a sad face. So if you're positive, you're happy, you have a smile. If you're negative, you're going to be sad, right? And then here we have a line, and it's a similar thing. This line is going downwards. We always read from left to right. So if you look at this line, as you move from left to right, it's going downwards because it's negative. There's a negative 1x. Right? So if the number in front of x is negative, it's going downwards. Just a little recap. Then here, that is called a function of a function. So what's happening in this case is you're taking an equation and you're putting an equation into a machine instead of a number. And we're going to be doing that later in the week. And then here we have a more complex graph. This has got 2 turning points, so it's likely to be quartic. In other words, x to the power of 4. Graphs normally have 1 less turning point than the highest power of x. So if you look at x squared here, there's 1 turning point, and the power of x is 2. If you look at the straight line, it has no turning points, and the power of x is 1. So if you look at a graph, the rule of thumb, it's not foolproof, but 99% of the time, if it has 2 turning points, like this one, oh sorry, it's got 2, so it should be a cubic, provided this is the whole function, right? This line here, do any of you remember what I said that line would be? And my hint will be, if you go here, that's number 2. If I go up until I hit the line and I go across, what is my y going to be? And if I go to say my y equals 4, I move across until I hit my dotted line, and then I go down to the axis. What is my x going to be? You're right, it's going to be the same. So if it's x is 4, y is 4. If x is 1, y is 1. So this line here, you can even check the negatives. If x is minus 2, y is minus 2. So that line is called the line y equals x. And remember, I told you that when you have a function, the inverse is always a reflection about the line y equals x. And the magic word is about, right? So here you would say, the line f of x, which is the red one, you see they've labeled it f of x, is a reflection of the line f minus 1x, which is the blue line, about the line y equals x, and vice versa. All of this we're going to do a bit later. For this little bit of the lesson, we're doing straight functions. So let's look at the next slide. So this is the starter, and for each question, you're going to substitute in the number. Let me put some eyes on it. It's quite difficult getting old, isn't it? Right, so it tells you here that this is going to multiply by 3 and then add 8. So if we put 5 into the equation, 5 times 3 is going to give you 15, and 15 plus 8 is 23. So over here you would write the answer, 23. Because remember, this is what the machine does. It multiplies by 3 and then adds 8. 7, put the 7 in, boom, boom, boom. What does it do first? Times by 3. 7 times 3, you're right, 21. 21 plus 8 gives you 29, right? So the number that goes in there, which is the output, which is the y, will be 29. Now they want us to go backwards, and they haven't given us much practice, but some of us have practiced a bit longer than others. So you're going to put 41 in, but now you're moving back. So what is the first thing here that you've got to do? They added 8, you must undo that. So you're going to minus 8, and once you've minus 8, you need to divide by 3. The opposite of plus is minus. The opposite of times is divide. So 41 take away 8 will be 33, right? You take away 1 to get to 40, and then another 7, you get to 33. Then you need to say 33 divided by 3 will give you 11. If you put the 9 in, you're going to have to say 9 take away 8, and 9 take away 8 leaves you with 1, that's a little bit nasty because 1 divided by 3 is a fraction, right? It's a third. So that one you'll write here will be a third. And if you put the x into the machine, that's simple. You're going from left to right. So 3 times x is 3x plus 8, right? So the answer will be 3x plus 8. What I'd like you to do now, grade 10s, is I'm going to ask you to pause the video and then try to do the table on the right. Write down your answers, and when you've done that, turn the video back on and have a look at the next slide. Okay. Right, so presuming that you've done that, you're going to check your answers, and you'll see that when you put 2 into this machine, you get 13.5. Well, does that work? What do? They add 5 times 4. So 2 times 5 is 10. Was it divided? It's plus. Hey, 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 times 4 is 28. 28 minus 1 is 27. And then 27 divided by 2, well, 2 times 13 is 26. So it must be 13.5, because the one that's left will give you a half. So that's how you're going to do it. Let's do one of those that go backwards, right? 29.5. So if it was divided by 2, we're now moving back. We must undo everything. So the opposite of divide is times. So 29.5 times 2, well, if it were 30, it would be 60, right? And we're missing a half and a half, so it's going to be 59. 59 minus 1 is, well, we must plus 1. So it's going to be 51. 9 plus 1 is 60. And then 60 multiplied by 4 was what they did. To get to 60, we need to divide by 4. 60 divided by 4 will give you 15. And then 15 subtract 5 should give you 10. And that's the answer that they got. You may use a calculator for this, children. Okay. I'm not checking your arithmetic or how awake you are. I'm checking whether you understand the process. Okay. So provided you got that right, which I'm sure you did, you can move forward. If you didn't get it right, you need to send me a WhatsApp message, and then I'll help you. Okay, functions. This picture's right on top of my functions. I don't know how it went traveling. Okay, so today we'll learn about functions. In maths, a function is an operation or a series of operations that transforms a set of numbers into a different set. So, for example, here they say multiplied by 3, divided by 8. Okay, sorry, plus 8, which is what we already did. The starter was 2 examples of this function. So, f of x means a function of x, okay? And 3x, these are operations that you carry out on the inputs. In this case, we multiply by 3 and add 8, okay? And then here they explain in blue. Well, I explain in blue what the next one is doing. Okay, so going to the next one. We've already done that. Oh, that's the other equation, isn't it? So we haven't already done it. Let me move this up a little bit. It's over the other one. Okay, now this has also traveled. Okay, so let's move this up a little. Move that up. This one, it's better to move this one up. Okay. So there they've given you the other equation. Okay, so this is the function of x. And then they give you the different operations. In this one, there's a bracket, right? So you have to do what's in the bracket first. So you would only have got the right answer if you'd said x plus 5 first. So say, for example, well, you know what numbers with x. So you're going to add 5. Whatever your answer is, you multiply by 4. Then you subtract 1 from your answer, and you divide your resultant by 2. Let's move to the next one. So they said if f of x is 5x plus 7, calculate f of 7. What have they done? Well, f of x is y, so y is 5x plus 7. And they want you to find y when x is 7. So all we do is in the place of x, we put 7. 5 sevens are 35. 35 plus 7 gives you 42. Right? Hope you're fine with that. Let's get to the next one. Yeah, they've now got a quadratic. A quadratic means there's an x squared, right? I think those are nice. They're quite fun. So you've got f of x is 2x squared minus 6x. And into that, you have to substitute negative 1. So in the place of x, we put negative 1. So it's 2x squared. Must become 2 times negative 1 squared. And then you subtract 6 times -1. Well, -1 squared is 1, so 2 times 1 is 2. And to that, you must minus 6. So what you're going to do is you're going to add 6. 2 plus 6 gives you 8, right? Check me with your calculators. And let's move to the next slide. Now we look at some questions on functions, right? And what we're going to do, remember, that's telling us that it's a function. And this is asking you to find the input x when the output is equal to 45. So they've told you f of x is 45, and they want the x. Remember, we're going backwards. So here we put the 45 on the left. We could put it on the right. I would probably put it on the right and say 8x minus 7 equals 45 because you don't like working backwards. So if 8x minus 7 is 45, you want to get 8x on its own. So you're going to take the 7 across. So you're going to get 45 plus 7, right? Because you're adding 7 to both sides gives you 52. 52 is equal to 8x. We don't want 8x, we want x. So we need to divide by 8. It's all explained for you here in red. And 52 divided by 8. Well, if you say, what, 8 eighths are 48, right? So 8 eighths are 48. No, 8 sixes are 48. 8 eighths are 64. What's wrong with me? 8 sixes are 48. So you're left with 4. So it's going to be 6 and 4 eighths, which is 6.5. All right. You have to excuse my arithmetic. Remember, never trust my arithmetic. Plenary. So here's the little plenary, and the plenary is telling us that we need to, I must move this down a tiny bit because it's in the way of the function again. There we go. Oops. Move it this way then. There we go. So here they say find x if f of x is 1 over 4x plus 1. G of x is 3 over 2x minus 7. And very importantly, they tell you over here, f of x is equal to g of x. I'm going to highlight things, right? So this is f of x is equal to g of x. And that, we can put a little star because this is very, very important. So if they've told us that, we're going to use that. So we're going to write the right-hand side of f of x, which is here, equal to the right-hand side of g of x. Okay. And to do that, we've done it over here. So you get 1 is equal to 4x plus 1. Sorry, 1 divided by 4x plus 1 is equal to what was written here for g of x, which is 3 over 2x minus 7. Now what we need to do with these is we need to try and solve. And they've used a little trick, which you can choose to use or not use. You could just cross multiply, right? So you could say 1 times 2x minus 7 and 3 times 4x plus 1, and it would work absolutely fine. They decided to be a little bit clever, and what they've done is they've said, let's multiply the left-hand side by 3, because on the left-hand side we have a 1, on the right-hand side we have a 3. If we multiply both sides by 3, they'll be the same. But remember, what you do to the top, you must do to the bottom, otherwise you're changing the value. If you multiply by 1, it doesn't change, right? Because anything multiplied by 1 stays the same. So we've multiplied by 3 over 3, which is 1. So on the top, 3 times 1 is 3. Put it there, right? We agree. And then at the bottom, 3 times 4x is 12x. That's correct. And 3 times 1 again is 3. Now what do we notice? We've got 3 and 3, and then we've got our denominator. So they then decided to be even sneakier, which I know you wouldn't do because it's a bit of a strange method. They tipped both sides upside down and multiplied both sides by 3. Or you could say they divided both sides by 3 and then tipped it upside down. But either way, they got rid of the numerators because they were the same and then used the denominators. They then solved for x. So they brought the 2x to the left-hand side. 12x minus 2x gives you 10x. Okay, so you get 10x plus 3 equals 7. And you don't want the 3 over here. Remember, its numbers must be on the right. So then you take it across. It's positive 3, it becomes negative 3 on the other side. Right? Can I write it? Because you know my writing with a little cursor is writing. So then, minus 7 minus 3. If I owe you 7 rand, and then I owe you another 3 rand, I owe you 10 Rand. So minus 10, so 10x equals minus 10, which means if you divide both sides by 10, you get x equals 1. And there's a huge tick. Children, I hope you understand this. What we're going to do going forward is, if you have questions, you need to contact me. Remember, every time you have a math lesson, I'm going to be on the WhatsApp waiting for your calls and waiting for you to ask me questions. Now I need to erase my mess. So let's get the little eraser. This is so cool. Look at this. You erase. Poof, gone. Poof, poof. How cool is that? Is it cool? You know what my husband-in-law, my sister's husband, I call him my husband-in-law. He would say small things amuse small minds. He's a bit rude to me. All right. So what have we learned? We've learned what functions are. We've seen and understood the notation for functions. I hope. If you haven't, you're going to let me know. And we have seen how to answer questions based on functions and how these will be written. All right. So have a look at that. There's a little quiz online for you to do. So go and look at the quiz one for this week. Okay. And try and do it. And then depending on how you do, we'll have to do more examples or we can move on. Okay. I think it's easy and I think you understand. And I'm super proud of you. Okay, so let's just stop the share. So this is what you need to do. Maybe go through it one more time. Make sure that you understand all the steps that we did. And then you go to the quiz and try the quiz. And then depending on how you do, the quiz is set so that you'll get your answer straight away. So if you don't get the answer, most of them correct, then send me a message and I'll help you. Okay? All right. Work hard. Love you lots.